Under the ghostly glow of distant supernovae, Captain Aurora Mercer gripped the helm as if it were a lifeline. The Orion sector's fractured silence roared in her ears, a cacophony of lost voices and imminent peril. Every shattered relic and drifting colony whispered of a universe in despair, while the pulsing trade route beckoned as humanity's final hope. Her heart thundered with a promise of resistance and redemption. The Orion sector sprawled before her like a canvas painted in deep bruises and fading embers. Nebulae, vibrant yet sorrowful, swirled amid the scattered remnants of once thriving colonies, ghostly ruins adrift in the cosmic void. Each fragment of metal and shattered glass told a story of battles long past, where the clash of wills and technology had left scars on the very fabric of space. Aboard the flagship, the air was charged with the low hum of quantum engines and the ceaseless beeping of alert systems. Holographic star maps shimmered in translucent blues and greens, mapping enemy incursions and celestial hazards with precision. Captain Mercer's eyes, steeled by years of relentless conflict, traced these digital trails as though they were the lifelines of a fragile future. Every flicker of light on the bridge was a reminder of the stakes at hand, the critical trade route that served as the artery for human survival, a lifeline connecting shattered worlds with the promise of renewal. Her mind raced with memories of loss, the haunting echoes of fallen comrades and the bitter taste of regret, mingled with fierce determination. Each scar on her soul fueled her resolve to defend what remained of humanity. The weight of countless decisions pressed upon her like the gravity of a dying star, yet she stood resolute. She had sworn to protect this route, knowing that its secure passage meant more than just commerce. It was the hope that stitched together the remnants of a fractured civilization. Outside the viewport, the cosmos loomed vast and indifferent. Distant explosions like silent symphonies of devastation played against the backdrop of infinite darkness. The remnants of destroyed outposts and ancient relics drifted silently, relics of a time when wars were waged with both honor and despair. Here, amid the scattered debris of ambition and ruin, the delicate balance between survival and oblivion was maintained by the faint pulse of the trade route, a slender thread connecting the past sorrow with the promise of tomorrow. As alarms began to murmur of incoming threats, the bridge was awash with a tension so palpable it seemed to vibrate in the very air. In that charged moment, Captain Mercer inhaled deeply, drawing courage from the stark beauty of the star-splattered void. Every sensory detail, the soft hiss of life support systems, the rhythmic tapping of data feeds, and even the distant murmur of stellar winds melded into a symphony of both foreboding and hope. Here, in the silent haunted corridors of the Orion sector, the first act of a war that would reshape destiny was about to unfold. Inside the pulsating heart of the flagship, the war room was alive with a calculated urgency. Holographic displays shimmered against the darkened walls, each streaming line of code and tactical data like silent specters. Captain Aurora Mercer stood at the center, her gaze unwavering as she studied the flickering projections. Her eyes, lined with the weight of countless battles, betrayed both a steely resolve and the quiet sorrow of past losses. "Status report," she commanded, her voice low yet resolute, cutting through the ambient hum of the ship's core. Around her, officers exchanged brisk nods and rapid, clipped responses. Lieutenant Reyes, his fingers dancing over a touchscreen console, spoke up. "We've detected enemy signals converging on the trade route, Captain. Their formation is unorthodox, like nothing we've seen before." Aurora's mind churned with memories of previous skirmishes, moments when hope had flickered like a distant star, only to be snuffed out by overwhelming odds. Yet, even as the specter of doubt hovered at the edges of her consciousness, her determination burned brighter. "Prepare our countermeasures," she ordered. "I want every asset locked on their coordinates. We cannot afford even a hint of vulnerability." Elsewhere, in a dimly lit chamber aboard the enemy flagship, General Cal Voss presided over his own command center. The atmosphere there was equally charged, but in stark contrast, where Aurora's domain was marked by a blend of hope and duty. Voss's realm exuded cold precision and calculated menace. He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he scrutinized the unfolding battle. His voice, smooth yet laced with ruthless determination, resonated through his private communication channel. Ensure that our flanks are secure. We strike when they least expect it. Their desperation is our advantage. In that moment, the parallel worlds of these two commanders collided, each driven by convictions that were as unyielding as the stars themselves. Aurora recalled the faces of those she'd lost, their sacrifices etched deep within her soul. Each memory galvanized her resolve, making every command not just a strategic directive, but a pledge to honor their legacy. We fight not just for survival, but for the future we believe in, she whispered to herself, the declaration echoing amid the murmurs of the crew. Back on the bridge, an undercurrent of tension rippled among the officers. The crisp exchanges of tactical commands were interspersed with brief pauses, a shared moment of silent acknowledgement of the peril that lay ahead. Commander Lee, her voice steady despite the palpable strain, interjected during a tactical briefing. Captain, our sensors indicate a fluctuation in their energy shields. It could be a diversion, or perhaps a prelude to something larger. Her words hung in the air, heavy with the implications of an unseen threat. Aurora's brow furrowed as she weighed the intelligence. In the reflective surface of the central display, she saw not only the cold data but the faces of her crew, each one a steadfast warrior in the midst of chaos. All hands, prepare for the unexpected, she declared, the authority in her tone brooking no dissent. The room seemed to tighten around her words, every crew member absorbing the gravity of the situation. In the enemy's command chamber, General Voss mirrored a similar intensity. His thoughts were a labyrinth of strategy and ambition. Every maneuver he devised was a calculated step toward an ultimate vision, a universe remade under his rule. Yet even as he orchestrated the offensive with the precision of a maestro, a faint spark of recognition flashed across his eyes. He knew that on the other side of the void stood a formidable adversary, one whose unwavering spirit could ignite hope where despair had long reigned. The real battle begins when we meet at the crossroads of fate, Voss murmured, his tone almost contemplative, as if the impending clash was not just a matter of conquest but a test of their very souls. Within the confines of the flagship, as the crew braced themselves for what was to come, Captain Mercer allowed herself a brief moment of introspection. The soft rhythmic beeps of alert systems mingled with the steady hum of quantum engines, creating a symphony that was both ominous and oddly comforting. She recalled the promise she made to herself and her fallen comrades, a promise to fight with every fiber of her being for the survival of their scattered civilization. Her inner dialogue was as fierce as the commands she issued aloud. I will not let fear paralyze us. Each decision, every calculated risk is a step toward reclaiming our future. We are the beacon in this vast indifferent darkness. The quiet determination in her heart resonated with the quiet courage of those around her. It was a unifying force, a silent pact that bound every crew member together in a shared destiny. As orders flowed like a river through the corridors of the warship, the dialogue between voice and silence became a testament to the complexity of leadership. In that crucible of strategy and emotion, both commanders Oro Mercer and Cal Voss stood as stark symbols of divergent paths in a universe at war. Their voices, each carrying the weight of their convictions, set the stage for a conflict where every word, every command would shape the fate of worlds. The war room was now more than just a chamber of orders. It was a living, breathing arena where the future of humanity and its adversaries would be forged in the fires of determination and sacrifice. A low, insistent pulse vibrated through the corridors of the flagship, a spectral heartbeat announcing that the calm was giving way to storm. In the bridge's ambient glow, data streams began to ripple with urgent intelligence, each flicker of light a coded whisper of enemy mobilization. The holographic maps, once serene tapestries of starlight, now erupted in bursts of crimson markers. Every alert, every digital sigh from the sensors, sent a shiver of anticipation down the spine of every crew member. Captain Aurora Mercer stood before the central console, her gaze fixed on the unfolding chaos in the void. The steady hum of quantum engines and the rhythmic clatter of command consoles created a backdrop of determined urgency. "Status," she called out, her tone both firm and measured, betraying none of the inner tumult. Her voice cut through the murmuring beeps and rapid-fire chatter like a clarion call to arms. Lieutenant Reyes, fingers dancing across the touchscreen interface, replied with a clipped urgency. "Enemy convoys detected. They're splitting into smaller, agile units along the northern corridor of the trade route. It's as if they're dispersing to confuse our sensors." His words were a blend of technical precision and undercurrent anxiety, echoing the gravity of their situation. Nearby, Commander Lee leaned in to study the holographic star map, her eyes narrowing as she analyzed the erratic energy readings. "Multiple energy anomalies detected, likely decoys. They're using false signals to mask a real force concentration," she reported, her voice low and steady. The digital display pulsed with deceptive calm, hiding the impending peril beneath layers of calculated misdirection. As the crew absorbed these revelations, the war room transformed into a crucible of resolve and trepidation. The atmosphere was thick with tension, punctuated by the soft rustle of technicians recalibrating sensors and the distant hum of engines that seemed to whisper of looming conflict. Every display, every fragmented message from deep space, was a reminder that the fragile threads of hope were fraying under the strain of war. Captain Mercer's mind raced as she weighed the incoming intelligence. In her thoughts, memories of past battles mingled with the stark reality of the present. Faces of comrades lost, and voices echoing in the silence of space fueled her resolve. "We stand at the edge of oblivion, but we will not falter," she murmured, internally, a silent vow amid the cacophony of digital alerts. The trade route, humanity's tenuous lifeline, depended on the precision and bravery of her crew. In one corner of the bridge, a young ensign gripped the cold metal of his console, eyes wide with a blend of fear and determination. His heartbeat, almost audible in the charged stillness, mirrored the collective anxiety of those around him. Every crew member, from the seasoned veterans to the fresh faces of new recruits, shared in that unspoken understanding. The war that was coming would test them in ways they had never imagined. The dialogue in the room was a tapestry of strategic commands and cautious forecasts. "All stations, prepare for evasive maneuvers," Captain Mercer ordered, her voice slicing through the layered data streams. "We must anticipate their every move." The command resonated deeply, as if imprinting itself into the very fabric of the ship's operation. In response, the bridge erupted into a flurry of coordinated actions, buttons pressed, data streams rerouted, and communication lines opened with a rapid precision born of countless drills and hard-fought battles. Across the vast expanse of space, far beyond the shielding walls of the flagship, the enemy's maneuvers grew bolder. The sensors detected subtle shifts in energy patterns, a silent prelude to an assault that would soon shatter the calm of deep space. The interplay of light and shadow on the holographic display was both beautiful and ominous, a dance of deception orchestrated by foes hidden in the void. Each flickering red dot was a promise of a clash yet to come, a forewarning that the whispers of war were not idle murmurs, but the heralds of an imminent storm. Amid these rapid developments, the conversations between officers deepened in both tactical urgency and personal conviction. "Captain, the enemy's configuration suggests they're setting a trap," Lieutenant Reyes warned, his eyes scanning the moving data. "They're using decoys to mask a larger, more lethal strike." His voice, edged with both concern and determination, underscored the high stakes of the impending conflict. Captain Mercer absorbed his words, her face etched with lines of resolve and the burden of leadership. "Maintain full defensive posture. I want all shields at maximum and countermeasures primed. We will not be caught unprepared," she commanded, Her tone left no room for dissent, each word a deliberate stroke in the larger picture of strategy that would define this battle. In the midst of these calculated orders, the silence between the bursts of communication spoke volumes. It was a silence filled with the weight of uncertainty, a delicate balance between the known and the unknown. The crew's collective focus sharpened into a single unified intent to face the rising tide of chaos with the unyielding strength of their convictions. Every whispered update, every calculated decision, was a step toward an inevitable confrontation that would decide the fate of the trade route and, by extension, the future of their fractured civilization. As the war room buzzed with the static of emerging threats and hurried preparations, the overarching murmur of intelligence reports underscored a critical truth. The war was no longer a distant possibility, but a rapidly approaching reality. In that charged moment, with every sensor reading and every measured command, the crew of the flagship braced themselves for the coming storm. The whispers of war had grown into a resounding call, a call to arms that would soon echo across the silent corridors of the cosmos, heralding a clash that promised to reshape destiny itself. In the midst of relentless skirmishes and the chaos of clashing forces, an uncanny hush descended upon the cosmos. The deafening roar of blaster fire and the incessant ping of communication systems abruptly faded into an eerie silence that blanketed the battlefield like a shroud. It was as if the very fabric of space had paused, holding its breath, anticipating the next monumental shift in the tide of war. Against the backdrop of this surreal quiet, the flagship emerged, a vision of unparalleled majesty slicing through the void. Its quantum engines pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow, casting rippling patterns of light across the debris of shattered starships and remnants of lost colonies. Every contour of the vessel exuded refined power and resilience. The sleek lines of its hull spoke of a mastery over technology that had long been the envy of both friend and foe. The ship's arrival was not merely a tactical maneuver. It was a declaration, a symbol of humanity's undying resolve in the face of annihilation. Captain Aurora Mercer, standing on the bridge with eyes fixed on the encroaching void, felt the gravity of the moment seep into every fiber of her being. The silence that enveloped the battle was both haunting and sacred, as if nature itself paused to witness the emergence of hope from the jaws of despair. Around her, the crew shared glances that mixed awe with determination, each person silently acknowledging that this was the turning point they had fought so hard to reach. The remnants of enemy formations, previously a chaotic storm of fire and fury, now hovered uncertainly as if caught in a gravitational pull of the flagship's presence. The once vibrant commotion of interstellar warfare was replaced by a palpable tension, every sensor and system on board recording the subtle shift in the battlefield's rhythm. Holographic displays flickered and stabilized, capturing the precise moment when the grand warship claimed its rightful place at the center of the cosmic conflict. In this suspended moment, time seemed to stretch, each second laden with the weight of countless lives and unspoken promises. The quiet was not peace, but the deep resonant calm before the inevitable storm of battle resumed. Every creak of the ship's structure, and every soft hum from its engines became a testament to the interwoven fates of those aboard and those watching from afar. As the flagship's presence grew, the air aboard the vessel thrummed with a mix of anticipation and resolve. Crew members, poised at their stations, could almost feel the heartbeat of their ship aligning with the pulse of the universe. They knew that within this silence lay the seeds of resurgence, a final defiant stand that would echo across the cosmos. In that stillness, the battlefield was transformed from a chaotic arena of destruction into a stage for a decisive confrontation, where the destiny of entire worlds would soon be determined. The silence shattered like glass as the flagship's presence ignited a fury that reverberated through space. Suddenly, the void was alight with the chaotic dance of laser fire, exploding warheads and the blinding glare of energy shields clashing. In the midst of this maelstrom, Captain Mercer stood at the bridge, her eyes ablaze with determination as she orchestrated the counterattack. Every command she issued was a spark, igniting the fierce resolve of a crew prepared to risk everything to turn the tide. On the battlefield, enemy formations broke from their concealment. Swarms of agile alien craft darted through the debris, their movements a blur of calculated aggression. Yet in the grand theater of war, the flagship's advanced defenses roared to life. Quantum shields shimmered with ethereal brilliance, absorbing the onslaught of enemy plasma bolts, while automated turrets whirled into action, unleashing a hailstorm of precision-guided ordnance. The silence of moments before had given way to a tumultuous symphony of destruction, where every explosion was punctuated by the cries of battle. Amid the roaring chaos, a series of rapid tactical exchanges crackled over the ship's comms. Lock onto their lead fighter. Divert all power to forward shields. Lieutenant Reyes's voice was urgent, each word hammered out with the weight of impending loss. Nearby, Commander Lee's calm, measured tone responded, diverting secondary power. Engage countermeasures. We can't let them breach our flank. The dialogue flowed like a lifeline, threading through the pandemonium and uniting every soul aboard in a singular purpose: survival and victory. Outside the safety of the flagship, the combat was as mesmerizing as it was brutal. Alien fighters, sleek and vicious, executed acrobatic maneuvers with uncanny precision. In one particularly daring maneuver, a squadron attempted to flank the flagship, their formation slicing through the darkness like a swarm of silver arrows. But the human warship was no easy target. With an almost preternatural awareness, Captain Mercer ordered a counteroffensive. A burst of plasma missiles streaked through the void, intercepting the enemy formation mid-flight, igniting a chain reaction that painted the starry canvas with bursts of incandescent light. In the thick of the conflict, individual acts of valor shone as brightly as the explosions that scarred the cosmos. Deep within the bowels of the flagship, a young ensign manned a critical weapons console. His fingers flew over the interface, deploying a series of automated drones that surged into the fray. With every successful hit on an enemy vessel, his face lit up with a mixture of pride and relief, a silent testimony to the human spirit's resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. As the battle raged on, the ship's corridors buzzed with both tension and the grim determination of those who knew the stakes were nothing less than the future of humanity. In one fleeting moment, Captain Mercer exchanged a glance with her second-in-command, a brief meeting of eyes that spoke volumes of mutual respect, unspoken fears, and a shared vow to hold the line. Their silent communication was a beacon amid the relentless storm, a reminder that behind every calculated strike was a human heart fiercely committed to the cause. Yet the clash of firepower was not without its toll. Explosions rocked the hull as stray enemy fire struck the vessel, and alarms rang out in a chaotic cacophony that underscored the peril at hand. Sparks danced across control panels, and smoke curled through the corridors, a stark visual reminder that every victory was paid for in sacrifice. Crew members moved with precision despite the chaos, their actions a ballet of survival and resistance, each one driven by the belief that their efforts could stave off oblivion. In the vastness of space, where every moment carried the risk of oblivion, the fires of conflict burned with an intensity that transcended mere battle. It was a struggle for the soul of humanity, a test of will, a crucible where valor met the harsh reality of war. As the flagship's defenses held the line against the alien onslaught, every burst of energy, every command shouted into the void was a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refused to let darkness prevail. Amid the interplay of light and shadow, victory was not yet certain, and the cost of every maneuver was etched in the scars of the ship and the souls of its crew. In that fierce, relentless engagement, the fate of the trade route and the very future of a shattered civilization hung in the balance, determined by the courage of a few who dared to ignite hope in the face of overwhelming fire. In the wake of the raging inferno of battle, silence fell upon the flagship like a heavy shroud. The corridors, once alive with the urgent cadence of combat, now bore the scars of war: crumpled panels, shattered glass, and the soft, persistent drip of coolant escaping from damaged conduits. Captain Aurora Mercer walked the dimly lit hallways, each step a reminder of the cost paid in both flesh and spirit. The air was thick with the metallic tang of blood, and the bitter residue of spent energy, intermingled with the low, mournful hum of systems struggling to sustain life. In the central infirmary, where the wounded were tended with gentle care, the harsh fluorescent lights revealed faces etched with pain and quiet determination. Crew members, still trembling from the shock of the recent onslaught, exchanged glances heavy with unspoken grief. Lieutenant Reyes sat by a console, his eyes distant as he reviewed the latest casualty reports, while Commander Lee murmured words of solace to a young ensign clutching a makeshift bandage. The devastation was not confined to the physical. Every scar told a story of sacrifice, a sacrifice that haunted the corridors of the ship long after the battle had ended. Captain Mercer paused by a large viewport overlooking the vast expanse of space. Outside, the cosmic void stretched endlessly, punctuated by distant explosions and the flickering remnants of enemy fire. The silence beyond was both majestic and merciless, a stark canvas upon which the echoes of conflict were painted. Her thoughts turned to the brave souls lost in the ferocity of battle, each life a star extinguished far too soon. How many dreams have been shattered tonight? She wondered, the weight of leadership pressing down upon her with the gravity of a dying star. In a quiet corner of the bridge, a hushed conversation unfolded between two senior officers. "Did we do enough?" one asked softly, his voice trembling with the enormity of their shared loss. "Every victory comes with its own toll," the other replied, his tone laced with bitter resignation. Their words, though simple, resonated deeply, capturing the moral ambiguity that war always leaves in its wake. The cost of protecting the fragile lifeline of humanity was measured not only in damaged hulls or lost firepower, but in the indelible marks left on the hearts of those who survived. Later, in the solitude of her private quarters, Captain Mercer allowed herself a moment of introspection. The room was bathed in the soft glow of starlight, filtered through a narrow viewport, and in that gentle light, the remnants of battle felt both distant and profoundly personal. She traced the scars on her arms, each a silent testament to battles fought and sacrifices made. "What is the true price of hope?" she pondered, her voice barely more than a whisper in the quiet. The memories of fallen comrades mingled with the relentless pressure of duty, forging within her a resolve tempered by sorrow and unwavering commitment. Meanwhile, throughout the ship the echoes of sacrifice reverberated in every corner. A maintenance crew methodically repaired shattered systems, their careful hands working as if each repair was an act of defiance against the chaos of war. In a small alcove, a group of young officers huddled together, sharing quiet stories of lost friends and unfulfilled promises, a collective lament that bound them closer in their shared determination to honor those who had given everything. The moral complexities of the conflict were etched into every conversation and every silent moment. The crew wrestled with questions of duty, and the haunting realization that sometimes in the theater of war, victory demanded a price too steep for any one soul to bear. Yet, amid the sorrow and the relentless echo of loss, there remained a flicker of resilient hope, a belief that even in sacrifice there lay the seeds of rebirth. The wounds were deep, and the healing slow, but each scar was also a testament to the unyielding spirit of those who fought to keep humanity's promise alive. As the flagship slowly stabilized, the ghostly murmurs of recovery and remembrance filled its once bustling halls. The battle might have subsided, but its aftershocks would forever reverberate through the ship's metal bones and the hearts of its crew. In that lingering silence, every member of the crew carried with them the weight of sacrifice, a shared legacy of pain, resilience, and the bittersweet hope that the future could, one day, be brighter than the echoes of this tragic night. As the first pale light of a distant star crept over the scarred hull of the flagship, the battle's fury began to give way to a fragile calm. The once tumultuous void now shimmered with the subtle hues of hope, a testament to a hard-won victory that had come at an immeasurable cost. Captain Aurora Mercer stood alone at a panoramic viewport on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the silent majesty of space. Every star, every glimmer of cosmic dust, bore witness to the sacrifices etched into the ship's battered corridors and into the hearts of those who survived. The trade route, that slender lifeline of humanity's future, now pulsed steadily with secured passage. Yet, amid the relief, the bittersweet echoes of loss resonated in every whispered memory and every quiet sigh among the crew. In the subdued lighting of the command center, subdued conversations unfolded like gentle laments. Lieutenant Reyes reviewed the battle logs with a heavy heart, while Commander Lee carefully annotated the structural damage, a stark reminder of the enemy's relentless assault. Their eyes, filled with both determination and sorrow, spoke of a victory that was shadowed by the scars of war. Inside her private quarters, Mercer allowed herself a moment of solitude. The soft hum of repaired systems mingled with the distant rhythmic pulse of the engines, a lullaby for a wounded fleet. As she traced her fingers over the emblem of the flagship, each scar on the metal and on her soul served as a solemn reminder of comrades lost, dreams shattered, and the weight of every decision made in the crucible of conflict. This dawn may be fragile, but it is ours to nurture, she silently vowed. Throughout the ship, a quiet resolve was taking root. Medical teams moved with tender urgency, stitching wounds both physical and emotional. In hushed corridors, veteran soldiers shared stories of valor and regret, their words a bridge between the past and an uncertain future. Even in the midst of reconstruction, the atmosphere was imbued with the promise of renewal, a collective determination to rebuild not only the ship, but the very essence of hope that had carried them through the darkness. Yet, as the day unfurled across the cosmic horizon, subtle signs hinted at new challenges. Flickers on the sensor arrays and murmurs in the communication channels whispered of emerging threats lurking in the uncharted reaches of space. It was a reminder that even as they claimed this hard-won victory, the universe remained a vast, unpredictable frontier, one where peace was as transient as the dawn. In that quiet interlude between battle and rebuilding, Captain Mercer addressed her crew one final time. Her voice, steady and imbued with the resilience of 1,000 lost souls, resonated across the bridge. We have weathered the storm today, but our journey is far from over. Every scar, every loss, is a testament to our will to survive. Let this fragile dawn be the beacon that guides us forward, for we stand together, as survivors, as warriors, and as a family united by hope. As the flagship sailed into the light of a new day, the echoes of sacrifice blended with the promise of a future yet unwritten. In that delicate balance between remembrance and renewal, humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever, a silent declaration that even in the face of overwhelming darkness hope would endure.